Hi, good morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. I'm just going to turn on the water to the cows here this morning. So yesterday, I had the father-in-law over. There was 1,000 feet of hose on that one, and we ran a water line all the way down from here down to the cows. Yesterday afternoon, when we come back from the birthday party, the trough was full and it was overflowing out of a 1-inch overflow hole in the side of the thing. So anyways, I shut it off temporarily because it was full. It's not like the cows didn't have enough to drink. And come in, got kids fed to bed and all that stuff. When the wife got home about 10:30 from work, I come out here and readjusted that, and then, basically turn the water back on, come back up here, let it run for an hour. It's going to take a bit to fill up. But then I shut it off overnight because I was like, well, you know what? If it's overflowing and if I haven't quite adjusted it perfectly, I'm not going to stand out there till 1 o'clock in the morning just to wait for it, or whatever time it was going to be, to wait for it to overflow or not overflow. So I'm going to turn it on here again this morning during reasonable business hours. And then we can run down there and see if it's going to overflow. It's fantastic though, because it's going to be, that's the sole source of my input. Pop it on. There's going to be a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, I don't know, of trust issues, whether or not that's working, not working, leaking, holding, whatever it might be, that we're going to do a few checks. But after we got some confidence in it, there's going to be, literally that's the input. Turn it on, boom, done. Now, on the agenda today, chicken pluckers. Yes, the wife come to me 3 days ago. I have no sense of time. Anyway, she came to me 3 days ago. The kids were in the bath, and she's like, "There's this chicken plucker for sale. It's $500." And you can buy a brand new one for like $660, but it looked like it was in really, really good shape, and it's not too far from here, Range Road 74, closer to Grand Prairie. And she said, "Should we buy it or should we not buy it?" I said, "Yeah, sure. It's not like we don't need it, right? So we're going to use it, and it's going to pay for itself within the first year, probably." So she messaged the lady, got an address, got a phone number, and we were supposed to text before we left. So the wife said to me yesterday, she's like, "Text this lady tonight, make arrangements to show up when it works for you." So I texted and said, "I want to come at 10:30 in the morning." No reply. So then the wife messaged this morning, no reply. Text, called, goes straight to voicemail. Find out also that the wife had sent her a $250 deposit on it. Yeah, I don't know. I might be getting scammed here. So we're going to load up the kids, and we're going to drive to this address on Range Road 74. And if there's no chicken plucker there, well, that's that'll be a tough pill to swallow. But if there is a chicken plucker there, then it's just going to be that'll be a relief. So let's go search for a chicken plucker. Well, we just got back from picking up the chicken plucker. They threw in some free homemade kill cones that they had built. And we're glad that this wasn't a scam, let me tell you. I went up to the door, knocked on the door, and the lady finally come to the door. It took her a minute, but she finally come to the door, and I said, "Hey, this is who I am. You've been talking to my wife. Tried to call, tried to text, got nothing back. Maybe your phone's broken." She's like, "Oh yeah, my phone's set up to block any unknown number." I thought, that works really well if you're on the buy and sell and you're trying to get people to contact you, hey? But anyways, nicest couple ever. They're looking to retire, downsize. They still have a few chickens, but they're not custom processing any anymore. So tested it, it works fantastic, runs like a charm. Heavier than all get out, but I knew that going into it. But anyways, I thought we'd swing down here and check on the big water trough. All kinds of junk floating in there now. Cow hair. Man, that's gross. Girl's gonna stop shedding. But anyways, looking at here, it doesn't look like we're overflowing. It's still filling after they've been drinking. And I'm hoping we've only got about 1/4 of an inch before that overflow there. And that's as close as I can get that float to the overflow. So if it overflows there now, I'm going to have to rethink how we're going to do this entirely, I think. Because I physically can't get that float any lower than where it's at. That is gross though, eh? Like, look at all this cow hair and grass, and That's just straight up snot or spit. Man, I tell you. I think we're gonna overflow here. It's now a millimeter below the overflow. Stay tuned and see what happens here. Hey, yo, Bessie, how you doing? Don't come drink right now. You're gonna mess up my experiment. Boy, that water's just riding there. Well, there you go. It's gonna overflow. Fantastic. So now I'm gonna have to figure something else out here. I shut this off now that it's full. I'm not gonna leave it overflow everywhere. I'm not well within my capability to solve this problem. Father, this is the big stock tank that the father-in-law brought. You know, Chad had mentioned the other day. He said, "Well, make sure you tie this thing to the fence because the cows are all going to come at once and they're going to jostle it around." I'm pretty confident they won't be able to jostle this thing around. But that stupid overflow, man, that's a real problem. That is a real problem. I might see if I can figure out some type of a bung, because it's so close. Like it's got to be within a quarter inch of that thing shutting down. So I don't know, maybe a big bolt or something like that with an O-ring on one side. I might be able to get it to seal up here. We'll see. I don't know if anybody else is like me and just can't ever throw anything away, because you might need it one day. I got a thing in here that might plug that hole, and it's certainly not intended for that, but it is intended to fill a hole. Whether or not it'll plug a hole is entirely different, because I don't think it's meant to be in wet service. But let's have a look here. There we are, right there. A whole cover. This is for a faucet when you've pulled one of those, you know, the off the water distiller. You pulled that tap out. But I don't know if that's big enough. We shall try it anyways. All right, well, we got the hole plugged. Let's see if we can turn it on and have no overflow. It's gonna take a minute. Watch, the whole thing will just overflow right over the entire side here now. Wouldn't that be something? So yesterday, as you can see the shop and the house way up there, that's where that water came from. This is the one trough we have at the halfway point, and you can see how we teed in here. We just naturally, where the end of the hose was, put in the T fitting, 3/4 inch valve, 3/4 inch by garden hose crossover connection, garden hose to a float, and it works fantastic. Well, just having a look in the greenhouse here, and things are turning the right color. We're getting lots of growth on these tomatoes. I bloody hate tomatoes, but we got so many of them. So hopefully the wife makes something, homemade ketchup or salsa or chutney or relish or something like that. That's, you know, you put enough stuff in it and now it's edible and it's not just straight tomatoes. The other interesting thing she did is we put this cattle panel in here that we got from HH Farm Store in Good Fare. And her plant is here. You can see, what's this big plant on either side of this? You might recognize these. These usually are low and they crawl along the ground. They have these big orange things that come out of them in the fall. Yeah, these are pumpkins. And so, I don't know where on the internet, but she found some interesting stuff that said you can grow pumpkins on a trellis. And so we're gonna try it. I don't know if it'll be successful. I don't know if it'll be a massive flop. It don't really matter. I mean, this whole game is just trial and error and experiment, right? But anyway, so that's that side. Lots of tomatoes, pumpkins. Over here we got lots of peppers coming in, and then I think this is Brussels sprouts, and these are cabbages, and somewhere spinach somewhere, maybe hasn't come up yet. Lots of mushrooms too, like you know, look over here, and right over there, lots of mushrooms. Some more right here. Now, I don't know enough about mushrooms to actually take a risk here. I know enough about mushrooms to know that I might shit myself to death if I pick and cook and consume any of those. So I don't know, maybe I need to learn a bit more about mushrooms, but what I currently know is just enough to stay alive. So no mushrooms are going to get picked out of this greenhouse. But what was interesting is when we brought the dirt in from here is there was an old muskeg or peat moss pit up north of Valhalla that we got 4 yards of, well, peat moss obviously from. And the lady that was selling it was saying no mushrooms ever out of this soil. So we filled it up, and I'm not saying that's where it came from, because we topped it with this organic potting soil. You see those bags there, right? That we must have got 16 bags of that from Costco. And so it either came from the peat moss pit in Valhalla or it came from Costco. I don't know, but we got lots of mushrooms. All right, so we're all wrapped up over the greenhouse here. And we're under the hood of the wife's commuter wagon. This is a 2001 Volkswagen Golf. Really hasn't given us any trouble. I think the only real money we did put into it was new tires. And then there was something else. We had the mechanic check over the brakes. That was the thing. But anyways, the other day the wife was coming to Grand Prairie, and the windshield wipers quit right there when it was raining. Fantastic timing. Looked underneath the fuse. We were looking at the fuse panel. Sure enough, the fuse for the wipers was burnt. And so I got a jumper wire there just to put where the fuse is, and try to see if something with a little bit more oomph could get that pump to go, or the wipers to go. And the wipers went just fine, but the pump wouldn't go, and the wire got real hot. So that told me what I needed to know. The problem was at the pump. So I popped off the wiring harness and then did the same thing, and the wire didn't get hot. So the pump itself, that's what the problem was. So pulled it off. Oh, that's a stretch. Pulled that little piece off right there, and then put a jumper leads off the battery. And I did get the pump to spin twice, but then it's just piled right up. So probably dirt or something in the impellers. I mean, this thing is 23 years old. It's, who knows what's been through there. So a new part, 20 bucks off Amazon. I'm not a big fan of Amazon, but it can be here in 2 days. I know if I go stare at a parts guy in Grand Prairie, it's going to be here in a week, and will probably be the wrong part, and he will want to know if this is a gas job or diesel or two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive. Who cares? That's what I need, and that's the part number I need. And I know if I just order that online, it will get here in 2 days. I can slam that thing back in, put some new fuses in, and then we don't have to run the big Yukon back and forth to town all the time. All right, so we're back down here at the big stock tank. Nothing spilling over. And nothing leaking out of the bung hole that we put in. I said bung hole. How immature. Anyways, I do have a slight drip coming off of that plastic tote tub over there. So I got a couple of, I don't know, I think when I bought that one, I bought it from an auction. It had a lid on it, and they might have secured it with some screws. Anyway, so it's got a hole, 2 holes right at the top. Same thing, right? Just bad spacing. So I'm gonna put some roofing screws in there, and we'll see if that does the job. Finn, are you talking about burgers?
Yeah.
You see some burgers out there? No. Those are cows. They're there too. I mean, I know they're raw, but
no.
Those are cows.
I want a Nutella and peanut butter sandwich.
Do you?
Me.
You too, hey? A minute ago you wanted a hamburger. Now you just want to make funny faces.
Burger.
You want a burger?
Yeah.
How fast can you run? You think you can catch one of those hamburgers?
Burger.
Okay, well, maybe another day. This is what I'm looking at here. I just got a weep hole right there. And it's just ever so gently dripping out. And I got another one on the opposite side right there. You can kind of see there was these holes drilled all the way around, and yeah, it had a piece of plywood over top, and I think that was to keep sunlight out of it, to keep the algae down. But if in doubt, put a sheet metal screw in it. Where else you can do this is can of Pepsi, can of cream soda, something like that. If you're ever feeling mischievous, drain a little bit out, put a little bit of hot sauce in, put a sheet metal screw in, and watch your friends go on an adventure. It won't disappoint. There you have it, one sheet metal screw right there. The other one's poking through right there. Problem solved.